Hi Class T, so the time has come. It is day 5 and it's time for us now to start to look at our eggs to see how they have changed after 5 days. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the egg that has been in the water. So I'm going to carefully get it out. Okay, so you can see quite clearly it is still looking the same as it has for the whole of the experiment. So I suppose this is our first test. I'm going to tap the egg with a spoon to see what happens to the shell, if anything. Okay, so if I now reposition the egg, you can see that the shell has cracked, as you might expect. And what I'm now going to do is, using a knife, I'm going to cut through the egg so that we can have a see at what's happened. And as we can see, the shell and you could hear the shell, pretty crunchy. And the egg just looks like a perfectly normal boiled egg. So it looks as though the water has had no effect on our boiled egg. So that's our first one. Make sure I just give everything a bit of a wipe. Okay, and moving on to our next one. So the next one we're going to look at is the one that has spent the last week in some milk. So I'm going to carefully now get the egg out of the milk. Again, it's looking pretty much as it did when it went in. And, oh, spoon's there. I'll get my spoon and I'll give it a tap. Or a couple of taps in this case, because the first one I almost missed. And you can probably just about see we've got some cracks, as we might be expecting, showing that our egg shell is nice and strong. So let's have a cut through to see what happens. You can certainly hear that it's nice and crunchy. And as I turn my egg to face the camera, and you can see the shell still nice and strong. It's had no effect on the egg itself, so I would say that our milk has not damaged the shell at all, which I think is what many of you predicted. So then we move on to our next one. So our next one is going to be the egg that has been in the apple juice. So I'll just get a tissue ready for this one. Okay, so I'm just getting a spoon here and carefully pulling the egg out. Oh, rolling a little bit. Okay, so just dry my spoon. And I'm going to give the egg a tap. Now, are we ready? So I've given the egg a tap. There is a little bit of a dint in the egg, which you can probably just about see. So we've still got some shell there, still quite crunchy. So let's give it a cut. And again, the shell of the egg has stayed quite hard, although I do feel when I'm touching the egg, it does perhaps seem that the shell's a little bit more brittle. It does seem to be breaking a little bit easier. I don't have to press quite as hard for the shell to actually feel like it's breaking just as I'm holding it. Okay, just move that over there. So that was our apple juice. And perhaps the one that we're thinking maybe has had the most impact now, which is the orange juice. So I'll pull this one out. This is obviously the one that's looking perhaps the most different to when we started. It certainly does look as though, if maybe I just move this around a little bit, we can see that there's perhaps maybe the most, if I can get things to line up properly with the camera, there is perhaps the most damage. It might be easier to take the egg to the camera rather than the other way around. You can see it's almost like a bit of a skin coming off. Certainly does feel different. Certainly bits of something coming off the shell. If you look, I can actually just pull this sort of outer colourful layer off. As it's made so much of a mess, I'm just going to use another kitchen roll for this next bit. Okay, so just like all the others, I'm just going to gently tap the egg with the spoon to see what happens. So we've still got a shell. There is a bit of a dint in it, which I know it's really hard to see. We do have still a shell there, although I think the outside of the shell certainly has been damaged over the week. And I'm going to cut through my egg, and it doesn't feel as crunchy. It sort of cut a lot easier than the others, perhaps showing us that that shell has got significantly thinner. The egg itself looks the same, but it was easier to cut, more certainly than the others. But yeah, if you have a look, you can see it's certainly done something to the shell. So the acid in the orange juice has certainly done some damage to the shell. I do know that some of you are trying this experiment yourself. I think we've got some people who have done it without boiling the eggs first, which I'm really interested to see what happens there. And I know I've got some of you who have tried some different liquids. One of you has tried to do this experiment with lemon juice, which has had a very significant impact. I think if I was to do this again, I would probably do it with lemon juice. So then we come to our final egg, and it's our egg that's been in the Diet Coke, which I'm sure you'll agree certainly has changed colour, certainly got a lot darker as time's gone on. So again, I'm going to give it a tap with my spoon. I think I sort of missed it and moved it then. So yeah, I've made a dent in the egg, hitting it with my spoon. So there's definitely, I would say, still, a lot of the shell there. I'm going to cut through, and it certainly was quite crunchy, but also felt quite easy to cut through. I don't know if that has anything to do with maybe the acids in the Diet Coke. But to touch, it does still feel quite hard. So I would say, based on sort of what I've experienced, cutting the eggs and tapping the eggs, certainly we had the most damage to the shell on the orange juice. Maybe a little bit less damage on the apple juice, a little bit of damage on the Diet Coke, and the milk, the milk and the water were still pretty much exactly the same as they were when we started the experiment 5 days ago. So make sure you fill in the chart that you've been filling in all week. From this we can learn that acids do damage things which contain minerals. So therefore, the acids in things like fruit juice would damage our teeth if we drank lots and lots of drinks which are high in acid. I have always wondered, perhaps during the course of this week, in particular how this would have been different. Maybe if I'd used Coca-Cola rather than Diet Coke, would that have led to maybe more damage to the shell? I don't know. Really interested to see the people who are doing their own version of this experiment. What results do you get? Maybe you could share some pictures with us so that we can see what it looks like. So keep safe and keep washing those hands.